Welcome to Module 3B, Configuring CI/CD Pipelines for a Sample Application. Let's get started. So this is the DevOps reference architecture that we are going to set up now and demonstrate. If you start reading it from left to right, it starts with the developer checking in some code at step 1. Step 2 and 3 is GitHub, where the code is checked in. Step 4 is continuous integration, which is continuously listening onto the source control system. It triggers static code analysis, unit test, does a build, and then at step 8 and 9, it then deploys it into higher environments. That's continuous integration, continuous delivery. Let's talk about source control systems now. So this is launching into GitHub. My repositories are repositories called JPetStore 6. Here is a classic Maven repository with the different files in that. Let's get into source. Classic Maven thing, classic Java project. And that's the JPetStore project, which is built on top of MyBadS3, Spring 5, and Stripes framework. If you look at the docs, you can see that this is the purpose of JPetStore is to demonstrate how to build a web application. It has simple technology stack, Java, JSP, couple of CSS, SQLs at the backend, and HTML. For the program structure, there is obviously pom.xml at the root store. The Java goes here, the classic domain wrapper and services, and then the action files, and then the webinf. And this project is built by Maven. Now looking at the CI system, we log into Jenkins. This is to just show you how Jenkins works. So that's our JPetStore application. You can see the last run was 30 minutes ago, run number 22. The last failure was number 20, and this build ran for 10 seconds. You can schedule a build from here. Now let's get into the last successful build. You can see it has no changes because it was manually triggered by the admin user. This build is connected to the repository. If we click on the repo, it's the same repo that we were just talking about, right? Now the CD system, the deployment system, if you look at that, we have Tomcat set up here, Tomcat 9, and it's running at localhost port 8081. If you look at what Tomcat has deployed, this is our application, how it looks like. It says welcome to JPetStore. When you enter the store, there are pets, fishes with the product IDs and product description. This is the product master table, the details including pictures. So that's our application that we're going to do. Okay, so let's get started now. Let's look at each component and how it is built up. Steps: we install Java, install Jenkins, set up Maven, install Tomcat. That's what we're going to do now. So number 1, install Java. What do? We go to Google and obviously search for download JDK. We know it's now owned by Oracle. So we go there, go to the Oracle website. You have Java 17 and 19. Let's pick up Java 17 now. I'm on Mac OS, so I download the corresponding Java and just double click and go through the setup. And then you can see Java minus version. Going on to Jenkins. It's also pretty simple. You search for download Jenkins. You go to jenkins.io, the Jenkins standard website, installing Jenkins, and then you look for your OS, Mac OS, and installing LTS, the long time support. And the instruction is to you brew install. If you're not familiar with what brew is on Mac, it's an application manager. So I'm downloading brew for Mac. You see here, this is the package manager, and that is the command to install brew on the Mac. Just run that command. It'll ask for my system password. I do that, and then it takes a couple of minutes or so. It'll pull in all the dependent binaries, and there we go. I have installed, and as you can see now, I'm installing Jenkins LTS version. So using brew. And it's done. If you're on Windows, there are a couple of ways to set up Jenkins. You can use the Windows MSI installer. You can go to downloads Jenkins page, download Jenkins for your application. You see there the download is already started. I'm going to cancel this. That downloads the Jenkins MSI. You can just double click and install it like any other application. Another way to do it is using the war file. So you download the Jenkins war file and you put it in another container like a Tomcat or an Apache. Works there as well. So various ways of setting up Jenkins. Now you can see I've set up Jenkins. I'm making sure that Jenkins is running. I do a PS, check for the Jenkins process, and you see that it's running Jenkins installed in Homebrew, right? Okay. Now because I used Homebrew, it's using the OpenJDK. Now set up Maven. I am going to set up Maven using the Maven wrapper, which is provided by Apache, which makes it very simple to run Maven and all your dependencies. So I'm showing you another way to install Maven. It's very clean, mvnw clean install, and that's all you need. So now I go to GitHub. Where do you find mvnw? It's part of your check-in in the source code. Go to GitHub and that's where mvnw is. Now install Tomcat. Similarly, very simple. Go to download Tomcat. We are picking up Tomcat 9 here. Set that up. Download the binary for Tomcat. Set it up on your system. And then you see I've downloaded the tar file here, unzipped it. And then I'm going to go to Apache Tomcat bin folder. And then within that, I'll have the startup file and just run that startup.sh. And that brings up Tomcat. Let's check for the process of Tomcat, and there we go. Okay, now let's also check if Tomcat is running on the host. Yeah. All right, time to start building now. So you see here that I have already started Jenkins using the brew command. I've started the Jenkins service. When I log into Jenkins, I get this screen, customize Jenkins. I don't want these plugins installed by default. So I'm removing all of the unnecessary bloatware that comes in. We can install always plugins later on. I get started. This is the create the first admin, and Jenkins is ready to roll. All right, let's talk about creating the build job now. So you go to Jenkins, create new job, give the name as JPET store. And there are a couple of styles of jobs: pipeline job, configuration pipeline, configuration as folder. You can copy from an existing job. For now, we choose the freestyle project and give a description. Scroll further down, go to Git, give the GitHub URL that we'd specified earlier. Be sure to put the Git extension there. You can also look at branch. You can leave it blank or give a star there. The most important part, Git build trigger, because we are polling the source control. If you look at the scheduler, it is 5 stars and the format is minute, hour, days, and so on. So the moment you give 5 stars there, you're going to get a warning. Did you really mean this? Of course, we mean it for now because we want to poll every minute. I like to set this up because if the build gets stuck, it should time out. This is the most important, the Maven command to create the war file. And I've added a ignore to the license because this is not a production build yet. Here is a command to copy the war file onto the target location on Tomcat. This is hard coded for now, but you can of course use the environment variables within Jenkins. Now this is for the JUnit test, and I give the path of the JUnit output XML files for it to be able to create a report. Just save this and we are ready to go. So now let's have a quick look at our reference architecture and what we're trying to do. And this is GitHub, Jenkins. Again, our job is ready. It was built some time back, and this is the sample application deployed. Now what we want to make a change to the title JPET store demo. That's where I've checked out the code. So we go ahead onto the file and open the index.html. And what I want to do is make a change to welcome to JPEG Store demo and add from Jenkins. That's the change that I want to make. And then I go to my GitHub desktop, select the file, given the appropriate check-in comment, and you'll see that this comment reference in the Jenkins logs later on as well. And I make a commit to the GitHub, and see, you can see the diff here as well. And then I make the commit and push to GitHub. So it's moving over to GitHub. That's done. And then I move back to Jenkins, and you see, there you go. The next build has been triggered off because Jenkins figured out that we had made a check-in, and the build is done some seconds ago. Let's go to our application, refresh, voila. That's the new deployment done. So now let's get into some details and see what all happened here. You can see the change is the reason for the build is because a change, if you look at it in the polling logs, you can see that it has pulled up that change. If you look at the test results, this is the JUnit test. You can see that so many tests ran here. All of them are pass. You can see the duration of the test and some other data. If I drill down further, you can see what all tests have been executed. And you can see all of them are passed. You can also look at the history. And for now, all successive builds have been passed. This is the build console output. And you see that's the workspace where we are building in. And this is the commit output. That's the commit message that I gave in. And that's the Maven command that I made in to create the war file creation. And then you scroll down. This is the JUnit test running in. And then you scroll down all the way. That's the test results of JUnit. And then that's finally the build success message coming out there. And that is the command to copy the war file onto Tomcat. And that's how you configure the CI/CD pipeline for a sample Java application. I know there's a lot to unpack here. We've covered a lot of things, but hopefully we could give you a sense of how things actually work on the ground for a very, very simple Java applications. I would definitely recommend you trying this setup on your local machines. And there's a lot of reference available out there if you get stuck. Happy building and have fun. Cheers. Bye.